Throw to first and Homer Fairley for the second time in his major league career has tossed a no-hitter. Oh, are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win it. What a dream beginning to the career of Jay Bruce.
Well, hey, what's going on? Welcome to Chatterbox Reds here on the Winter Meetings weekend. A glorious day, kind of surprisingly a glorious day for our beloved Cincinnati Reds. I brought my friend Clay Snowden. Clay, how we doing?
Awesome. And we got the number 2 overall pick. I was just sitting there on Twitter hitting the refresh, just waiting for the Reds name to pop up, and it just wouldn't.
Yeah, I kept thinking, okay, surely they're going to be the next one. And then I'm like, wait, they're not. And then the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And yeah, what a unbelievable surprise for the Reds, a gift. It kind of makes up a little bit for last year. But if you missed it, the Reds will have the second pick in the 2024 draft. Cleveland Guardians getting number 1. The Reds odds were 100-1 to get the number 2 pick. And the Reds had a 0.9% to get the top 1. I think they had less than a 3% to even get in the top 5. If I remember right. But yeah, I mean, this is a big deal, Clay.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only are you going to have a chance to draft a top flight prospect next year, but now if I'm Nick Kroll, I'm saying I'm a little bit more, I don't know, can I trade one of these other prospects for a bat right now? Because I'm sitting here thinking I'm going to load up on another likely top 100 prospect this summer just from the draft. Maybe I'm more willing to pull the trigger right now during the winter meetings or this offseason to land either a starter or a bat or whatever they may need to land and, part with the prospect.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at, number 2 pick. Obviously, it's not a sure thing, just like anything in baseball. But just some in recent memory, Jameson Taillon, Byron Buxton, Chris Bryant, Alex Bregman, Hunter Green, Bobby Witt Jr. We won't mention the lovely name of Nick Senzel, but look, you probably almost have a 50-50 shot of getting a impact major leaguer. Do you feel like that's maybe fair for this slot?
Yeah, I don't know all of the information, but I would be
somewhere in that ballpark.
That there's a very, probably 70% shot that you at least get a major league player, usually one that can even be a starting, caliber type player. And then getting an impact player, yeah, I'd say it's probably somewhere between 40 and 50, 55%.
Yeah, and I don't know if you necessarily go crazy. Oh my gosh, we got a number 2 pick. Now we can, go crazy with trades. But it does make you feel a little bit better. That you're, at least if you're shipping someone out, you're bringing someone in, and it's definitely important to the Reds and Nick Kroll, and he's been preaching this for the last 2+ years, the sustainability, and this helps your sustainability, especially as you're trying to win right now.
Absolutely. And it's one of those deals. It's really just, okay, when I think of making trades, I kind of just think, how many players do we have in our system that I feel like are going to at least be at the very minimum an everyday level player that we are projecting that way. You're just adding another one is really what it is. Like, most likely you're adding another one that you feel that way about. So departing with one isn't, it just evens out. So that's kind of what I meant. It wasn't a let's trade everyone because we're drafting Juan Soto at number 2 this year. Yeah.
And how about Devin Mesoraco? Just bringing all the good vibes. I love, Clay, that he seemed to, at least, from Twitter, to really embrace that he was doing this. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was kind of funny because, Reds Fest, I wasn't able to go. I know that you had a big moment there, and had an awesome opportunity. But, that comes around, you start seeing pictures online, and it's like you see Daniel Ray Herrera, and you're like, wow, this is awesome. You see Devin Mesoravko, and you could tell he kind of got juiced up. He changed his profile picture on Twitter. It was
Pitt. Yeah.
Pitt, yeah. It was the Pitt logo, and now it's the Reds logo. He's in, baby. He's back.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And he spoke highly about the Reds when we we interviewed him on a podcast a while back, and said that he completely understood the trade, felt like the Reds were, very forthcoming with him, and said he loved his time in Cincinnati, and was very genuine about that. So, but it's cool to see them. It's cool to see the Reds getting a guy like him involved, a guy that maybe could be easy to forget, right? Just because of but he was a all-star in 2014. Had a really, really good year, and just just the injury bug caught up with him. But just cool to see him and have his moment, and bring the Reds some really good luck. And yeah, I mean, I'm not even going to try to, and I know you're not a huge college baseball guy either. We're not going to try to get into who might the Reds go after and all that. We'll have fun with that, and we'll bring some bigger.
I'm not a draft person to begin with. I'm just not. That's just not my cup of tea. I know Bryce is. I'm sure he's tweeting out all kinds of names right now. But yeah, those mock drafts that I never click on, I'm going to start clicking on. That's for sure.
Yeah, I will be 1,000% more invested in the draft this year. I was a little bit last year, but when you're picking, what were the Reds, 7th? I mean, interested, but you're not, And I think the Reds did really well. I mean, I think they lucked out for being as far back as they did to get a player of the caliber of Rhett Lauder. But man, this is where you can look. You can miss here. Not gonna say you can't, but man, this is where you get that franchise-changing player. Hunter Green, I think, is a franchise-changing player, and I think he's gonna show that more and more over the next couple of years.
Yeah, and it's no secret that the Reds are not out here just buying free agents and making trades to fix everything. So, like, anytime you have a chance to draft somebody who fits that mold of game-changing, franchise-changing, alternate game plan for the other team, anytime you have a chance to draft one of those, that's humongous for a team like the Reds.
Of course, our guy Carrick Melvin in the chat. He's already got who Baseball America is projecting. Wake Forest first baseman Kurtz to the Reds. So thanks, Carrick, for always keeping us in the loop. One of the great Reds follows, and a guy that just does an incredible job keeping up with the team. All right, well, I don't have any other thoughts on the draft lottery other than hell yeah, what a night for the Reds.
Funny.
This is such a win.
It's funny because for so many years it felt like nothing could go right for the Reds, and for so many years things, even when they tried and invested in free agent, everything was going south, and there's this negative life form around the Reds. And now over the past year, things are starting to kind of trend in the right direction. We saw pretty much every rookie come up, not every single one, but just about the highest percentage of any rookie class coming up and producing right away. We get this. I mean, everything's kind of falling. I'm just enjoying it. I'm hoping that they add somebody else. I know that you all have already covered the bullpen additions, and that was kind of like okay, here we go. Here's the little appetizer. Now let's see them spend some real money or make that big trade or whatever it is.
Well, go ahead and give your thoughts on that, because we talked about both of those guys. I talked again last night with your cohort, Elijah Evans, who did an awesome job talking about the White Sox, and he gave his thoughts. But I felt like over the weekend we kind of rushed through those two signings because of Reds Fest and everything coming up. So what's your thoughts on let's start with Nick Martinez. What was your thoughts on that signing?
I like the idea of it. If he's going to just be a starter, I'm a little bit less thrilled. Now, at the price, I think it was a good price for him. I hope that they are willing to use him in different roles. And if it's a idea of, okay, maybe we'll add another starter, then I love it. I love it. But if that's the only starter they add, at least it's a a veteran that has had major league experience who can fill that role instead of calling up Buddy Kennedy, instead of calling up another rookie. There's somebody who's proven in that spot and can give you quality long innings out of the bullpen, something that the Reds have struggled to find at times. I know Jeff Hoffman did it at a serviceable level for periods of time and whatnot, but so I like that move. Pagan was a player that, I mean, it's so obvious. It's like every bullpen guy, right? There's, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, everyone wanted him gone. Like, I don't remember if he was at the Padres then or right when he started with the Twins. Like, people wanted him gone. And then he puts up a great year. And if you look at his career numbers, he's steady. He is a very solid pitcher. So to me, it's, hey, bring in another vet, a guy that's been there before, a guy who's been on winning teams, playoff experience, and someone who has a track record. And that, I really love that move.
All right, we got big super chat from Gabe K. Thank you, Gabe. Appreciate your super chat. Love Chatterbox. Is it your all's belief that the title window probably doesn't actually start until 2025 or 2026? I just don't see the core being ready to make a deep run next year. And Gabe, Trace talked a little bit about this. I don't know if I've really gone in too much detail on this. I think overall you're probably right. I mean, I think the Reds' best shot at maybe winning a title is probably going to be 2025 or 2026, just doing simple math. But I do think the Reds are a bona fide playoff contender and a bona fide NL Central contender. I loved when I interviewed humble brag GM Brad Meter. He said our goal is to win the NL Central. Like, he flat out said it. They weren't sugarcoating that. But if you're in that spot, you can be the Arizona Diamondbacks last year. And I do think, Clay, before I hand the mic back to you, I think we're underselling how good a playoff rotation of Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, and then is it Graham Ashcraft as number 3? Is it Andrew Abbott? Which one of those guys have been number 3? I think those 3 could be a really, really good playoff rotation, assuming they continue to progress and Lodolo more health than anything else like we expect. I think that they could be a lot more formidable than a lot of people think. It's just, it's crazy, Clay, how we went from going into the year, our expectations of Green and Lodolo were all the way up here. We were like, how's this lineup going to work out? And now it's somehow flipped. And I think in some ways we may have gone a little overboard and being hyped about the lineup, but I think we've kind of gone the other way. We should be hyped a little bit more about what these young, really, really talented starting pitchers at Green and Lodolo could do.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gabe, thanks for supporting these guys in this channel. And we see it in sports a lot of times where you kind of have to have your growing pains once you kind of get there, and we see it a lot of times in the NFL. Your quarterback gets to the playoffs and just can't quite get there yet. And maybe the second year in the playoffs or third year, it kind of takes some time to kind of callous yourself to get ready for it. So I do think that this year they could make the playoffs. I don't want to say that as a definite thing, especially we don't even see the roster yet. But when it comes to the starting pitching, my thing is I wanted them to add somebody that has I like to put pitchers in buckets. So kind of the frontline starters. I think right now Green is in that bucket, and that's it. I don't think Lodolo is there yet because he hasn't been healthy enough. He has the talent to be, but I need to see more. Then you have kind of the middle of the rotation guys, and I think that there's a couple in there, Abbott, Ashcraft at times, a little bit more consistency would help. And then, you have kind of the players that fit into that 4 or 5 role, and there's tons of names in there. And I feel like I missed a name, but you get what I'm saying. I would love to see the Reds add one more pitcher that could get up in that top bucket with Green, because then you're talking about, man, this is a scary rotation, not just a good enough, but a scary rotation when you go into the playoffs.
And we got them flying in tonight. Appreciate you guys. Paul Spurlock with a 20 burger too. Paul says, sorry for interrupting your show Saturday at Reds Fest, Nick. Awesome meeting you and Trace. Chatterbox will stay number 1 over Rogan next year. You can book that, my guy. Yeah, Paul showed us his Spotify Wrapped. Chatterbox 1 was number 1. So hey, if you're one of the people that are like Paul, put that up on social media. We appreciate that. we're all about self-promotion here around Chatterbox. But that is how you pay the bills in this industry. But Paul, it was great to meet you at Reds Fest. Thank you so much for coming up and saying hi. It was ridiculous how many people came up and said hi and said they watch our dumb show, and it does mean a lot. So thank you so much, Paul. Appreciate your support. And yeah, we were right above Joe Rogan. I was like, man, let's go, baby.
Hey, anybody that donates a super chat today, I'm gonna put your name in a hat and draw for your name out of a hat, and I'm gonna send you an Ellie De La Cruz Chrome rookie card, Bowman first, whatever it's called. So anyone, doesn't matter the amount of super chats. I'm gonna write down the names though, Nick, so I don't miss any.
Let's go. Wow, Clay just coming in hot tonight on a Tuesday. I love it. I love it. I don't know if we have everyone's contact info, but I'm sure we'll find a way. At Clay Snow,
I'll figure it out.
At Clay Snow, if you need to get a hold of him for this. So, all right. Well, yeah. Thanks all of you supporting. Appreciate you. Let's talk a little bit about the hot stove. I know Alex Verdugo. There was a trade with the Yankees and the Red Sox. I don't really care about things that don't really impact the Reds. So I made a little graphic here for the hot stove. I'm sure I missed something. It's been a really busy week. A fun, busy week, but a busy week. Here's some of the interesting headlines that I looked at. Let's start with just like the Reds headlines, and then we'll talk a little bit more about more of like the NL Central type stuff. So the Reds signed Eric Gonzalez and Mark Mathias to minor league deals. I'm assuming, Clay, you don't have any big time hot takes on those signings, do you?
No, not in particular.
Okay, let's move along. Good to have depth. I don't think like signing Eric Gonzalez though does anything to like players like Jose Barrero or anything like that. This is literally just replacing your Mark Reynolds.
Yeah, and if you look at the AAA roster, I mean, you're going to need players like that. Every single year we see these moves. It's usually just done later in the year. Christopher Colon, those type of moves, or just invite to spring training that end up on the minor league. This is just kind of getting out in front of it, just kind of odd timing.
Yeah. All right, Evan flying in with the super chat. Reds going to bring back Scott Schebler. You know what, Evan? Trace was asking me who was the last guy that I missed on, and it was that group. I thought Scott Schebler was a superstar, and probably the one guy that I've missed on the most was Jose Peraza. I whiffed so bad on Jose Peraza. I thought that 14 home run season was the real deal. I thought he was going to be an above average big league shortstop, and I whiffed pretty bad on that one. All right. Well, Clay, we talked a lot with Elijah yesterday about Dylan Cease, but I want to talk about the other two guys that the Reds have been linked to the most, and then we'll talk about India like we do on every show we've ever done. But Seth Lugo, and then, of course, to a bigger extent, Tyler Glasnow. I guess we could also throw in Shane Bieber into this. What are your thoughts on those three guys in particular?
Glasnow I like a lot. And it's one of those, I know the injuries. I know. He fits in that bucket I was describing. Bieber would be kind of between that bucket and the next one, I would say, just because I feel like he's regressing. I don't love the idea of that. Glasnow's one of those deals I would roll the dice on. As long as it wasn't a crazy price. It's 1 year, $25 million. We know they have the money to cover that, especially this year. Maybe they could work out an extension. I know the injuries keep coming up, and it's usually like this is not the type of player I would usually want to go after. It's kind of against the grain for me, but something about Glasnow I just really like. And if they can get him for a price that doesn't hurt too much, I'd say that's the one to target.
What do you think about this? Because I was talking with Elijah, and I was very much against Dylan Cease because I thought that the price tag was just going to be so exorbitant. But it almost feels like it might be possible that the market for Glasnow and Bieber is so high for a 1 year rental. Do you think it could be you could get to a point where you're like, if we're going to give up trades that really hurt, why don't we just go a little bit bigger for the guy with 2 years of control and Cease?
Yeah, and I kind of get that. I admittedly am not as big of a Cease fan as most people. I know that he's good. I know that he had an elite year like 2 years ago. Last year was a little bit rougher. The strikeout numbers have gone down. I know FIP likes him better, but like I just don't know how much he's going to cost. A player like that, especially because if he is kind of like if you're under the impression the Reds could get him for a pretty decent deal, there's 20 at least other teams out there that would say, oh, whoa, that's all it is, then I'll get in on that too. So I don't think that this is the type of deal that you could get a discount on. I think that it may not be, outrageous prospect return, but I don't think that you'll be like walking away thinking it was a steal. I'd rather go with Glasnow. Man, it's just tough. Like Dylan Cease, I'd be happy about it. Don't get me wrong, but it's far from this perfect fit.
Yeah, I agree. I always thought it was too far, but I don't know. Elijah, man, he's a good talker. He talked me into it a little bit. He made me a little more.
I mean, come on now, Elijah, man.
He made me a little more open to it. He really. I mean, I tell you what, he sold Dylan Cease better than the White Sox sold Dylan Cease to any other team. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, and like I said, he's a talented pitcher. And sometimes you watch him and you think, oh my gosh, when he has it going. Then other times he's giving up home runs and getting hit around some. And he's just one of those pitchers. Sometimes when he has it on, it's must-watch TV. But when he doesn't. And for everybody I mentioned earlier, if you give a super chat of any amount, we'll enter you in for a Ellie De La Cruz, Bowman, Chrome first. I don't collect cards. I don't know what to do with this, so I'm going to give it away to anybody who super chats.
Throwing away his trash. Just kidding. Mr. Juan jumping in the super chat. Appreciate you, Mr. Juan, as always. How drunk is Nick Kroll tonight? We'll start with that. Nick Kroll's working hard right now. You know, Nick Kroll is maybe Wednesday night at the end of the night after they pull something off, he'll have a celebratory drink. But man, he's full speed ahead right now. Also, how proud are you that Phil Castellini hasn't put his foot in his mouth this offseason yet? I'm very happy. I will say I did interview Phil on Saturday, which was a wild experience. He was very kind to me. So we'll leave it at that. But yes, I hope they continue the type of media tour they're on right now, because it is much better for everyone. And I will say that article in the Inquirer today was fine. There's nothing wrong with the article. The title was very clickbaity, but my God, the amount of people that quote tweeted that article without. Did you read the article? Without reading it, like it was wild. It was a fine article. There's nothing wrong with the article. It's talking about the Reds, maybe losing their $60 million for next year because of Bally going away. And like the title made it sound like the Reds were complaining, but the article clearly was that they weren't complaining, that they were specifically not using it as an excuse, and people just jumped on. And
I mean, anytime the finances come up, and I don't want to get into that whole talk, but I do want to say one thing. Just remember to look at the WAR or projected WAR, whatever your favorite set is, to value players at each position and see, okay, the Reds need to upgrade here. When Matt McLain doesn't cost $20 million because he's pre-ARB, but he's not an upgradable player. Like, he's a good player, so you don't need to add $20 million to the payroll there. All I'm saying is whenever you talk payroll, do so with context. Half of this team is still pre-ARB, or more than half. So just keep that in mind. The payroll will be less than other teams. That does not mean that the Reds are a worse team. Now, I still think that they should add to the payroll, starting pitcher, right-handed out, or righty bat. I'm sure we'll get into some of that.
Mark Fetters, my man, just Ellie De La Cruz. That's the super chat. That's all you need. You don't need to say anymore. Mark said,
do you all want me to sign this? Is that how this works? Does that help the value?
I don't believe so, Clay. All right. Jonathan India. Reds now not planning to trade him is, I guess, what's going around. I've seen a lot of people try to dissect Nick Kroll's comments. I said last night that the way that was worded and how it came out after, there was plenty of stuff floating around. They were looking to move him. And the fact that they specifically said have him play a different position than second base for the first time ever I've heard that makes me think they're actually probably not looking to trade it, because I was under the assumption that they didn't want to move him to positions if they were just going to trade him. They wanted to keep him at second base as long as possible to keep his value, to keep him happy, all those sort of things. Did you view those comments any differently?
I was happy about the comments. And the reason why is because we never had anything close to discussions around India doing anything else besides being the starting second baseman throughout the past couple of years. So just even the introduction, the idea, just a little sprinkle of salt of, hey, maybe he'll play a different position. Maybe he'll be used in a different way. I like that. I don't dislike Jonathan India, the player, at all. He'd be a great, kind of like how Nick Senzel was used last year, where it's kind of utility. He plays a lot, starts different positions. Like, if he could do that, I would be really into the idea of Jonathan India in that role. Now, if he's just going to play first base, DH, and second base, yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's better than just second base, but like I think if you start moving him around a little bit, you're going to see him in other positions besides just those two.
Yeah, and again, if you're not, I've said this many times, but if you're not getting enough value back, keep him. I mean, you're not going to find a player that can at least be probably a 105, 110 weighted runs created plus making what he's making on the open market. You're not going to find that. So does he have flaws? Yeah, absolutely. But you're not giving this guy away. And if he can be just depth, great. But it is great that we don't have to expect him starting second base on opening day. That's great, because that's the only thing that can't happen. That's the only solution here that can't happen is him playing second base every day. But yeah, we digress. Let's talk about the NL Central. Some kind of interesting stuff. Brewers signed Wade Miley and Joe Ross. Joe Ross was a minor league deal. They signed Jackson Chourio to an 8-year extension. Love to see the Reds maybe get in the waters with that. My guess is the Reds are waiting more towards the end of the offseason once kind of the dust settles on the free agent market. Cardinals listening to offers of Tyler O'Neill. The Cubs are like the Reds in talks for Glasnow. Some info floating about possibly Christopher Morel in a deal there. And then the Cubs also in talks for Rhys Hoskins. Mixed news about if they're actually in on Shohei Ohtani or not. And then the Pirates showing interest in Jack Flaherty and planning to increase payroll. Any NL Central stuff kind of stand out to you, Clay?
Yeah, I hope the Pirates increase payroll just because I'm going to feel better about beating them if they look more competitive. Shohei is not going to Chicago. I don't see that. Rhys Hoskins there would be kind of a fun fit for them. I kind of feel bad for Rhys Hoskins. It feels like he deserves a fair shot somewhere, and he's just kind of being looked over. He's a really good player. Really, really good player. The Cardinals are going to trade somebody. I think Dylan Carlson is another name that will get traded. If I know we like to kind of make fun of what they've done with their rotation, but if they were to bring in even another arm, or if they were to add, one more impact player, pitcher or a batter, anything, like, they're kind of right back in this. And we made fun of them last year because why? Because they sucked, and that literally never happens. What are the chances of it happening back-to-back years? That's what I'm kind of afraid of. Well, not afraid of, but cautious of. So yeah, there's a lot going around. It's just the Brewers are headed in the complete wrong direction, which helps a lot in this discussion. And how much more are they going to shed?
We got breaking news. Alex Wallace passing along breaking news from Jeff Passan that the Pirates are acquiring Marco Gonzalez. This is like the most Pirates move ever, right? Like your lefty that's kind of washed up that they're going to try to squeeze some extra juice out of. I feel like they've done this with feels like almost like Jose Quintana. I know he had a better career before, but it feels like they do these things a lot. So I would be shocked Yeah, I would be shocked if we look up and Marco Gonzalez has a 3.5 ERA in mid-June.
Yeah, he's a decent enough guy who can eat some innings and round out a rotation. I don't think he's good. He's had some injuries too, but like the Pirates getting a vet who hopefully can eat some innings for them, and I'd love to know how much cash that is, but man, that's just a bizarre move to make. Very weird.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know how much are they basically getting him for, almost nothing. Then I think, I mean, it's a good move for them. Interested to see is that how much more are the Pirates doing? Because I think the Pirates are a lot better than a lot of people around these parts give them credit for. I think they're just as dangerous as pretty much anyone in the division if things go right for them.
Yeah, and last year they filled out their roster with, 1-year type vets, and they got off to that hot start and cooled off. Like, if they were to add just a little bit, they got Jack Swinsky and they have some pieces there. Davis, Rodriguez, like they have enough young talent to make a trade if they wanted to. It's just I want to see it before I believe it. There's a super chat as well. I don't know if
I was gonna get to that.
Okay.
I got him starred.
All right, just making sure.
I try to have try not to jump conversations too much. Although
I'm telling you how to run your own show here.
Yeah, appreciate you. All right, yeah, from Marine Tough 87, great show. LFG Reds, Semper Fi. What does that mean? Do you know what that means?
Yeah, it is. Oh gosh, Marines. It's what Marines say. I don't want to embarrass us by getting too far into the.
Should I Google it?
It is a Marine term.
Always faithful, always loyal. Hey, that makes it even better. Always faithful.
People are not going to like us not knowing that, but
I mean, I don't think people were jumping in here going, yeah, these guys look like Marines.
Well, thank you for your service, Marine Tough 87.
Yeah, appreciate you. Appreciate the super chat. Let's go. Yeah. All right. I don't know. Where were we? Clay, what's on your mind?
Okay. Well, I don't really know where to start besides when, a lot of talk's been going around about signing pre-arb deals or Jackson Churio signing this deal. And if you all have already talked about this and I've missed it, just tell me to stop. But, people are saying the Reds should do that with players. I think you've got to remember two things here. Churio signed before he barely touched, AA. So I don't know who in the Red system I would want to do that with. I don't think that there's a batter in the Red system currently that has not debuted. So same situation as Churio that I would touch with one of those type of deals right now. In terms of the young players, Ellie, McLean, Steer, those guys, I would love to. I would be open to do it. Not every single one, just because you're running into risk. But at that point, they have to as well want to do it. So I may love my job and I may want to be there. That doesn't mean I want to sign up for 7 years of it. Like I may want to see what happens too. So I think we've got to, remind ourselves of that. I would say, someone like Spencer Steer is kind of in that level that I would expect he would be the most likely. I think Ellie would, and, McLean would probably wait, especially with their agents and whatnot. So I would, if I had to just make a guess, I would say Spencer Steer would be the one to sign kind of that pre-arb deal.
I think Noelvi Marte is the guy you try to lock up.
Yeah.
And I know I see our guy Chris Solomon also in the chat. Yeah, I think Noelvi Marte, he's the youngest. He's the non-porous. He's the most realistic. I think, man, this is the year you try to get him. I think if you don't do it this year, you might not be able to do it. I think he's poised to really take that leap. And another sneaky guy that I like, Clay, is Connor Phillips, just because of how young he is and the fact that he's only barely got a taste of the big leagues. I know it's risky. I wouldn't. Well, I mean, but again, if the guy pitches like we think he can next year, you're looking at an entirely different deal. So
I think, yeah, and I get it. I would rather And I'm a risk averse person. So like I'd rather see someone do it for a year, and then even if it costs more money, it's still going to be cheaper than the eventual price, right? Like
Mhm.
I want to see it for a year. I'm not out here like just putting all my chips on black and hoping. Like I got to see a little bit of a pattern or something. Especially with Phillips, who I'm still not fully convinced will pan out to be what his ceiling is. And it's not me just hating on Connor Phillips. Like it's anyone that's followed me for a while knows I really like Connor Phillips, but you got to throw strikes. And there's been issues with that at times. So I'm just waiting. I want to see it at the major league level for a period of time before I'm handing it out to pitchers, especially.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know about the other guys though. I don't know if anyone out there, I mean, outside of like just an arbitration type deal that maybe gets an extra year, something really small. I don't know if there's anyone that I'm necessarily dying. Ashcraft's going to be 25. Ashcraft's going to be 26. Abbott's going to be 25. You start to get into their free agent deals are into their 30s. I don't know how
only
far
thing I will say is I'm happy with one or two of those, but I don't think you need to do it with everyone. I know that's kind of the trend because the Braves have, and it's worked out. You also can get into some issues like Jay Cronenworth, where you now have a contract you cannot move. There's plenty of players that have signed these pre-arb deals that have gone south, and you don't know about them because you've never heard of the people. Sean Kingery or whatever his name is in Philadelphia is making like $6 million this year. No one knows who he is because it went south. Carter Keyboom and who was the guy that Evan White, who just got traded in a salary dump. That guy's making $6-7 million over the next years. I think it's a good idea with a couple of players. I don't want to get crazy with it and start making it the norm because it could go south. And with a team that you don't want to get in that salary dump game. I know we've done it before. We don't want to live in that space.
Yeah, and the
John
Braves,
Singleton, that's a good one, yeah.
Yeah, and the Braves, the only one they've extended is Strider, right? So far.
Well, they had signed like Austin Riley and pretty much
of the pitchers.
Of the pitchers, yeah.
Their extensions have mostly been position players.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is my preference as well, just because of injury risk.
Yeah, I know Reds and 4 brought up Diaz. I don't know if I'm in a rush to extend. You still have Diaz through 2027, and he's 27 years old right now. I'm fine writing him out till the end. I don't think I'm in a rush to. I don't think there's a single reliever that I'm in a rush to extend. Sims at the right price, but yeah, you don't want to go too far with him just because he's had so many injuries. But
yeah, I'm just not big on signing relief pitchers to deals. I mean, there's certain times and stuff that I absolutely would. Sims would be one I would be comfortable. I just don't want to get in that game of 3 or anything over 3-year deals with a bullpen arm. That's just like not a position I want to be in. Typically, I mean, there's always exceptions to the rule, but yeah, if you want to give Sims a small extension of some kind, that's fine with me. I mean, do those type of deals now before everyone's arbitration starts catching up.
Yeah. All right, let's get through some questions, Clay. I've kind of started some as we've been going through here. What should our expectations be for Ellie next year? MVP, right?
No. I
just know that's it. You're not going to expand upon it.
I honestly have not thought about this exact question yet. Or I guess I haven't thought of the answer yet. But for me, it's do you want like stat line or something? Like all I want to see is above average. It doesn't have to be all-star. I want to see him take a leap from if he can improve 15% or just get above that, even if he's just a 105 WRC plus next year, at 22 years old, the age of most people in high A going into double A, if he can be around there a little bit better, I think I'd be happy with that. I want him to also prove, and I know I'm going to sound crazy and people think I am, I want him to prove that he can be the shortstop that we think he can be defensively. I'm still not sold on that. And I might go to my grave saying I want him to just be a third baseman, but I want him to look awesome at shortstop defensively at least and not make mental errors. And I want to see him at least be slightly above, at the very minimum, slightly above league average at the plate.
I think Ellie's going to be great next year. I think he's going to be inconsistent at times, but I think he's going to be a 4 or 5 win player. I'll call it now. I think he's going to. I think he'll be an all-star. Yeah, I think Ellie's going to have that. Yeah, he's Ellie De La Cruz. He's Ellie De La Cruz. You can only keep Ellie De La Cruz somewhat contained. I mean, he was almost a 2-win player in 98 games.
Yeah.
I mean, he's gonna be fine.
I just want to make sure everyone understands that from where he was last year at the plate to what his ceiling is usually doesn't happen in 1 year, one off season. It usually takes time. So when he comes out of the gate and it's May 16th and you're wanting to demote Ellie because he hasn't hit 36 home runs yet, just pump the brakes, calm down. It's going to be okay. Far too talented of a player. It might just take some time. That's not a bad thing. That's the norm.
Yeah. I think
he's not the norm though, so you could say that too.
Yeah, I think he'll push 30 home runs. Yeah, he's gonna be fine. He's gonna be great. All right, what else we got here? Alex, remind us the Rule 5 draft is tomorrow. Hopefully, if the Reds select someone interesting, they don't trade him 10 minutes later after I work really hard to find a great guest to talk about Blake Sabol, and then they decide to trade him, and I waste my evening. So that would be great, Mr. Kroll.
Yeah, I don't think the Reds are going to be very active here. I don't see that. The Rule 5 draft is created to get minor leaguers who have not cracked the 40-man a chance to. I don't think that the Reds are out here like just with a lot of spots open. Like they're going to be competing. They're going to be adding players. Like maybe they'll take the reliever who can't throw a strike but can throw 100 and see what happens. But I don't think that they'll be active.
Yeah, maybe a reliever. Reds are 14th. It's funny though, Clay. What a difference a year makes. Because if this was a year ago, we would both be. I know we'd both be a lot more invested. I completely forgot that this was tomorrow. I'd be looking through names. If the Reds pick up a reliever, great. Let's ride. But yeah, I'm not. I mean, I'll certainly pay attention, but I'm not counting down the hours till the Rule 5 draft like I was last year.
Hey, last chance for anybody who wants to put a super chat in for a chance to win this. We're going to be put in a super chat with your question. It can be $1 even. I just want some more names to draw from here.
I'm just going in order here. Paul, how do I support you guys? They're a Patreon. More details coming. It's out on Twitter, but there's going to be a Chatterbox Reds site that's behind a paywall. It's going to start February 1st. So stay tuned. We'll give you all the details on that. That's the best way to support us, and you'll get some actual additional content back. People have asked, Chatterbox Reds is not going behind a paywall or anything like that. Still have podcasts after every single spring training game and regular season game. Live shows after every single regular season game. Always free, always available for you, and always off the rails. Chris Solomon joining us tonight. Let's hear the chatter about Gurriel and Michael A. Taylor. I bet the Reds end up with one of them. I think I still like Soler. I still want Soler. I can't quit Jorge Soler, but I do think there's one of these type players that the Reds do end up with.
I know I'm against the grain here too, and I just sound like a grump. Like I'm not the biggest Soler person because I don't want that deal. I don't think that deal is going to go well, and I'm a little bit worried. I know it's not my money. Why should I care? And I get all of that. Trust me, I know it's just a feeling. I don't think that's going to age well for him. I think it's going to be a lot of money. He's a DH. It would be electric. Like, if it worked out, it would be so electric. But let's talk about Gurriel. I like him. I think that he can at least give you average defense. He's played a lot of positions in the past. I don't think he's that type of player anymore. If you're looking through his old, pages and whatnot, I love the bat. I love the personality. He's an electric player. Like, he would be a fan favorite right away. And this clubhouse has enough of that, but like, you can't have too much of it either. Like, I love those type of players. And Michael A. Taylor is not a player I've even thought of for the Reds, but good gloves and center, pretty decent hitter. I would say he's a good fourth outfielder, but I just have higher expectations for that particular roster spot, a right-handed hitting outfielder. If you want to bring him in to be the fourth guy, that's okay. I hope that the Reds bring in a power bat, and Soler could be that. I'd rather go Teoscar because I think you can get him on a shorter deal with not as much money.
All right, another super chat. Connor, jumping in the super chat. Appreciate you. Clay's thoughts on some Cease packages. So I'm gonna give you the one that Elijah.
Okay, yeah,
wrote.
that's what I was gonna ask.
I was kind of looking. I was able to multitask here. His offer: Edwin Arroyo, Chase Petty, and Reese Hines for Cease.
Okay, I knew he would have Arroyo and Petty. That was who I was gonna guess. And the Reese Hines. So Reese Hines, yeah. I would probably do it. I would. And the reason being is I'm a little bit concerned about Petty's injuries and whatnot. I think that the Reds they just drafted 2 college arms that I know I like a lot, and there's other starting pitchers in this. I would rather trade someone else besides Petty there, maybe a step below, but I watched a lot of Petty last year, and there's times where I was a little bit concerned about him long term. Arroyo's the player that's obviously the top here, and I'm sure people know I'm lower on him than the consensus, but I still see that, hey, we got the 2nd overall pick, like, we can add another bat there. And Reese Hines, good player, looked good last year. It's one of those deals. You guys are trading for one of the best pitchers on the market. It's not going to come at a price that's not going to hurt. And if you think about this, I like to think in terms of depth chart whenever I make moves like this. Like, okay, you're losing a shortstop prospect who I think will probably profile more as a second baseman with his offensive profile. Personal thought. A lot of people don't agree. I don't see that being like the biggest, stab to the stomach or anything. Would you do it?
I would do everything I could to get Chase Petty off of that list. But to your point, Arroyo, Petty, and Hines, I feel like is less than Marte, Arroyo, Stout, and who was the other guy?
More.
I mean, I feel like the Reds got more, and Cease has an extra half year of control added into this than Castillo had. So, I mean, look, it's gonna hurt. Chase Petty's the one that I would. So,
Reds and 4 asked a good question. Why do we want Cease so bad? I said earlier, I'm really not like the biggest Cease person, but if that's like what it comes down to, and there's not another high level pitcher, my idea of the offseason is I want to walk away with another person in the Hunter Green bucket. However you get that, it's going to hurt. It's either going to cost a lot in free agency or it's going to cost a lot in trade. That's the game you have to play here. So to me, it's whatever we got to do to get one of those. I'm going to be happy about it. Most likely, maybe not, but most likely, because this team is in a position where it's going to start to make trades or be in the position to make trades, to make those prospect trades that hurt. I know Carrick's not going to like that.
I'm with you. I wasn't all on this Cease train at all. I thought it would cost way too much, and I wasn't for it. But let's throw this out here as more of a hypothetical. if Tyler Glasnow costs Edwin Arroyo and Leon Richardson, do you think that's maybe kind of a fair, just a general ballpark what they might be looking for?
I have no idea. The Rays are so odd sometimes with their moves.
Okay, let's
and
just
like who they ID.
let's roll with that just for the sake of
Okay.
my case study here. All
Yeah.
right. So they want Edwin Arroyo and Leon Richardson for 1 year of Tyler Glasnow. But the White Sox want Arroyo, Petty, and Hines for Cease 2 years of control, Cease less of an injury risk, which is the biggest part of it, a big part of this, and the biggest selling point about Cease. That's where I can kind of get on board with Cease, just because if I'm giving up that much just for 1 year of Glasnow, I can almost be talked into going just a little bit further and getting 2 years and less of an injury risk.
I really like Glasnow, and it's a player that I've always liked, so there's a little bit of bias there. I would do trades like that if it came with the extension. Now, the catch-22 there is, do you want to extend the guy who's been injured? And that's where it gets difficult. And that's where it's like, okay, if we pivot to Cease, that's one, then we've already scratched Glasnow out. There's a list of pitchers that fit the Reds that are available. The more that shrinks for whatever reason, the more expensive it's going to get to acquire that pitcher, right? It's just supply and demand. So if we say, no, we don't want Glasnow, that's not going to work. Okay, well, player X, Y, and Z signs here. Here's our pool of players that fit. And if it comes down to Cease and one other person, like, there's no secret to that. And you're going to have other people bidding against you as well. It's going to hurt no matter what. You're not going to get away trading number 7, 12, 13, and 18 in the system. You probably won't get away with something like that.
And another thing that maybe should also be mentioned in this is there is the qualifying offer that you can get back here for any of these guys that would sign for. They have to sign a contract worth more than $50 million. So Glasnow might actually, of those three guys, might be the most risky of not getting $50 million, just because if he gets hurt, right? Like them staying healthy all year is key to this in terms of you getting a comp pick back, because you need another team to sign them for $50 million plus, and that's Sal Stewart. I mean that's what the Reds got for letting Castellanos walk. So that is another thing. I think most of these guys you're pretty likely to get that back. So you have to add that potential into this as well, that you are going to restock because you're going to get a comp pick back, assuming all hell doesn't break loose and someone needs Tommy John surgery.
If they got Randy or Rosarino with Glasnow, I would be willing to trade a lot. Like, I love both of those guys. Like that's like, I'm on MLB The Show and I'm just like, it's midnight on a Tuesday. I'm wheeling and dealing. I just landed Randy and Glasnow. Who cares? That I would be willing to like do a bad trade. I would do a bad trade for them.
Randy Rosarina in Great American Ballpark would be something. All right, what else? What else do we got here? Any buzz on Bieber and Class A from the Guardians? I mean, the Reds and Guardians have made a lot of deals. Class A is interesting. I don't know if I would be willing to pay that asking price for a reliever. He's great. I mean, he's elite. You put him in that bullpen, oh man, you really shorten the game. But I just have a hard time believing I'd be willing to give up what he's going to cost.
There's opportunity cost there too. So if we go out and get him and improve at the closer role or high leverage role, great. Now you've traded one of those tradable prospects, so you're less likely to go get a starter or a righty bat or whatnot. So it really comes down to, like, if there's 3 prospects they're willing to trade and want to trade this year, like, okay, now how do you do that and get the most out of it? So if you spend it there, like, that's great, but you may not be able to add elsewhere.
All right. Paul wants to know, should I upgrade my season tickets from the 400 to the Scout Box? The only question that matters. Well, Paul, I'm a cheap dude, So I'm going to say just keep your 400s. Those are quality seats. You can see the whole field. You're actually better seats than some of the press boxes, like in Pittsburgh. Like you're closer to the field than they're at in Pittsburgh. I say keep that, and then you can eat every night for that extra money and get a couple beers and have a good time.
Yeah, I'm under the impression that most seats are fine. Like, I'm not a seat snob. I'm not one of those heavy people. Put me wherever you want. So I'm probably not great at this, but I would say you just keep your seats and, like Nick said, pocket that money for the in-game experience.
Big brain, sign Eduardo Rodriguez, trade Abbott, Hines, and half more smaller prospect for Rosarena and Glasnow. Yeah, I mean, look, I'd rather the Reds just sign pitchers and not do any trades and keep their farm system loaded. But how much room do the Reds have left in the budget? I don't know. I mean, I based on all the comments I'm hearing, I think there's some. I don't know if it's 50 million or if it's 20 million. I think it's probably somewhere in between those two numbers. But yeah, I'm all for, signing guys first. And again, I do think that's the thing that a lot of people forget is the qualifying offer is huge. I'm so glad that the CBA, they allowed for that, because I think that really helps teams like the Reds, that they did put that back in. And I think it in some situations it motivates teams in this case to make a move. All right. Well, you got any other final thoughts here, Clay? Anything else you want to roll through?
Let's do it.
Let's do
it. This drawing. I've got everybody's name that did a super chat. I have you written down on individual Post-it notes over here and numbered. So there was 6 people that did a super chat. Each Post-it note has a number. So I'm just going to have Nick say a number, and I'm going to pull that corresponding Post-it note. So Nick, between 1 and 6 for an Ellie De La Cruz Chrome Bowman first, whatever the hell that means.
Between 1 and 6. Let's go number 2.
2. Okay, I've got nothing in my hands. Number 2.
Mark Fetters.
Mark Fetters. So, Mark, I don't know if you can. Here's everyone's numbers if you're wondering. Gabe 6, Marine 4, Paul 5, Evan 1, Mr. 3. Okay. Mark, either shoot me a DM or shoot me an email, claysnowden@gmail.com.
Mark's on Twitter. He should be able to shoot you DM. And Mark, if you have any issues, get a hold of me and I'll help you. Mark's a great
Awesome.
Chatterbox supporter, so appreciate everyone, but great to see Mark win. Mark's been a good one. All right. I don't know, any other final thoughts? I'm just, having a good time. Tuesday night, there's like 150 people watching us talk about Reds baseball in December, which is insanity.
Chris, how about some Reds Christmas gift ideas for anyone out there? Last thing, what do you think with that?
Let's go. Go.
Okay, just give me 1 second. So I got this last year. It's a picture of my wife and I on here. But this is a 3D cutout of the stadium. Very nice wood. It's sits on your desk and whatnot. You the fan is where you can get such a thing. And it's awesome. So I would suggest that. And if anyone ever has any baseball book ideas, I've got plenty of them. So I'm more than happy to talk baseball books as well if anyone ever wants to DM me.
Let's go. Well, Clay, appreciate you. Tell the folks where everyone can find you at on Just Baseball.
Yeah, Just Baseball. My Twitter is on the screen here at Clay_Snow. I'll be writing more. I recently started a new real job, my little 9 to 5 thing that actually pays the bills. So been busy and been traveling a lot. So we'll be getting back into writing. Any Reds moves or anything like that, I will definitely write about it. And Mark, thank you for being a supporter of Chatterbox.
Should have pulled the trigger on season tickets. Yeah. I mean, if you're ever gonna pull the trigger, I mean, this is the time. I mean, this is the year, right? I mean,
How much do they cost? I have literally no idea how much like one season ticket costs in a upper like I mean, do season tickets cost $2,000 or like $20,000? Like I have no idea.
I don't know. I mean, let's look. Let's find out.
Mr. Juan's got jokes. They can't afford me.
Yeah, we can't afford Clay Snowden. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You think we haven't tried that? You think we haven't tried it? We're lucky to get the scraps as an hour show on a Tuesday.
My hourly rate is $9,000.
It's through the roof, man. I have to take a hit. I don't know. I don't know how much season tickets are. I'm tired, man. I'm pooped.
400 for 13 Saturday games is what Paul said.
Paul, you could resell half those and make it back. Let's go. All right. Well, I appreciate all
of you.
I'm really
excited. I really am.
Yeah, it's gonna be. Clay, I'm excited that on day one, like we're competing, like right.
And no matter what you all do, I hate to tell people how to spend their time. Do what makes you happy. Please do not go back and find the old podcast that Nick used to be on, where him and I did a 2024 off-season episode, because I had Brad Keller on the Reds, and my mind has very much changed on that.
Yeah, I had some rough. You
had Max Muncy.
I think, well, I still would have liked him. I still think he'd be a great fit. I had Matt McClain, like the seventh guy on the bench. Sorry, Matt.
Terrible.
That's a guy I whiffed on the opposite way. I don't usually whiff on guys not positive enough. That's for sure. So, sorry, Matt. All right. Well, yeah, I'll be back on tomorrow night. I won't lie to you. We'll find a way to do something probably around the same time. This many of you folks are going to watch this. We'll roll all the way through the winter meetings. Hopefully have something really interesting to talk about. But if not, we'll somehow find a way to talk for an hour like we did tonight. So, Clay, appreciate you. Appreciate everyone jumping in. Oh, I was supposed to talk about Xavier at the end. Look, they're down, folks. They're down. I should have wore a Xavier shirt because Yes, basketball. They're down. It's rough. I just say, those of you that are fans of the other establishment in Cincinnati, the other college program, I don't know. I would just say I wouldn't recommend being too high going into Saturday, because haven't had a whole lot of success at Cintas. Somehow Xavier always finds a way, but we'll see. Good luck.
Kirby
Have a great. Yep, Kirby hoops. All right. Have a great night, everyone. Go Reds.